Vlad the Impaler, the man known as the son of the devil by his enemies and the son of the dragon to his allies. A man whose legend throughout history went on to actually spawn the whole fictional genre of vampires and Dracula. You know, Vlad actually gets a bit of bad rap, mostly because he loved shoving people on a spike, but a lot of that is actually more psychological warfare that he would do, or enemies of him trying to badmouth him to the Pope to undermine him. Vlad might actually be one of the most misunderstood characters in history, but we'll save that for another video for another day. Right now, I'm going to tell you how Vlad dealt with his enemies in a way that you can use in your life. No, not that way. Okay, so Vlad was returning back to his homeland of what is now Romania after spending most of his life in Turkey, being basically brainwashed into the ways of the Ottoman Empire. Him and his brother, being princes, were taken as prisoners to Turkey, and it was customary to try to brainwash the sons of conquered areas to get them on side. Vlad's younger brother bought this brainwashing hook, line and sinker, but Vlad himself did not. He pretended to, so that he could be sent back to Romania to replace his father when his father died. Living amongst the Turks for such a long period of time, he knew them from the inside out. He knew how they thought. He also knew that a tiny little country like his could not stand against the might of an entire empire. So he already had as his plan a scorched earth policy. He knew that once Turkey figured out he was not actually on their side and he was there to declare independence, they would come and invade. When they would, his plan would be scorched earth, burn everything, burn every crop, poison every well, salt the earth so that there's nothing there for the Ottoman Empire to get. They couldn't scavenge anything, they couldn't eat anything, they would run out of supplies and then have to go home. He did this and it worked. But to prepare for this strategy, he knew that every single patch of ground in Romania that could produce food would need to be producing food, because he wouldn't know which areas he would have to scorch, so he'd need to have food growing elsewhere. So what he did was he sent out word amongst Romania to all the beggars, all the homeless people, all the people living in poverty, that if any of them want land, come to him and he will give them land that they can own out of his own personal inheritance of land, being the prince now becoming king, and they could work that land. So he sent this word out all across Romania, but only one guy in the entire land of Romania actually showed up to ask for a bit of land. It was an ex-soldier who had a hole in his head from an arrow that hit him during a battle, and he'd have seizures all the time. So Vlad gave him some land, but he was very upset that none of the beggars or anyone else showed up. So he decided he'd make another offer. He put the word out to all the beggars, all the homeless people, that if they came to his castle, he'd give them a giant free meal. This time, every beggar in the entire land showed up, and when they did, he closed the doors and slaughtered each and every one of them, as Vlad tended to do. That was just the way that Vlad did things. But one of his associates asked him why he did this, and he explained that if these beggars and these poor people, if they don't want to work, but they're still willing to take a handout, then when the Turks arrive, all the Turks need to do is just give them some gold, and they'll tell the Turks anything they want to know about Vlad, about his armies, about the movements, about what battle plans they might be making. So he simply couldn't afford to have all those beggars in his land, because he knew they'd eventually betray him. And you have to admit, that's pretty smart thinking on the part of Vlad. A lot of other rulers would have just forgotten about the beggars, but he could see where that would lead in the long run. He realized that the way people act in little things is also how they will act in much bigger, much more important things. So in this way, we can kind of set up Vlad the Impaler type tests to test how people react on small things, to know whether we can trust them or not. This is something I've actually done over the course of my life. Sometimes if I'm sort of meeting a new group of people and kind of becoming friends with someone, I'll actually throw out a bit of a test. I'll maybe tell them a secret, tell them maybe an embarrassing story, and then I'll say to them, yeah, just keep that quiet, just between us. Now what I'm telling them actually isn't a secret. It's not really something that I actually care about if anyone knows, so it's not really all that important, but I make them think it's important that they keep it secret. That way, if later on down the track, I hear that story through the grapevine, I know I cannot trust that person. I know I can never tell them anything real. It's a very good way of flushing out who to trust and who not to trust. And also when you catch someone in this, you can actually make a joke out of it in front of everyone and go, well, it's a good thing it wasn't that big of a secret. This way it puts everyone else on notice that that person is not very trustworthy, and also it puts everyone else on notice that they should not betray your trust. They should not give up a secret, because if they do give up a secret that you tell them, it could be another one of these tests. But Vlad the Impaler did lots of interesting things like this throughout the course of his life. There were many different layers and lots of different psychological warfare that he used against the Turks, and I think I'll probably make more videos about him in the future. But until next time, let me know what you think about this down in the comment section. If there's any more historical characters or people that you'd like me to mine some lessons from. And until next time, I am Bandit Strategy, and I will see you guys in the comments.